All right, breaking news coming in at this point of time. Nepal is witnessing one of its biggest youth-led uprising in the recent years. The streets of Kathmandu, they have several other cities that have been flooded with the protesters after the government's decision to ban 26 major social media platforms. 16 people, at least 16 people have died in the Gen Z protest against corruption and malgovernance, according to the health ministry there in Nepal. Hundreds of people, they are injured, and the hospitals are now facing a resource crunch. Remember, the multiple social media platforms, they have been banned, including Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, as well as X. And what began as peaceful demonstrations, it in fact turned violent. There was police fighting, tear gas, water cannons, and even rubber bullets led to multiple deaths and dozens of people getting injured. 16 people, at least 16 people have lost their lives. The Oli government, it defends this ban as a matter of sovereignty and regulation, but for thousands of young Nepalis, this is about free speech, their livelihoods, and a fight against corruption. With a curfew now imposed in many parts of Kathmandu and angry Gen Z on the street, the big question is Nepal on the brink of a digital age political upheaval? So the latest that we are getting as far as the Nepal protests are concerned, at least 16 people have died in Monday's Gen Z protest against corruption and malgovernance. This is what the Health Ministry of Nepal has said. Hundreds of people are injured and hospitals are now facing a resource crunch. There were dramatic visuals that we have been getting you on NDTV, and you can see that on your screen of people in large numbers, in thousands, out on the street protesting against the Oli government after the ban on multiple social media platforms, as well as against corruption and malgovernance. Now, the latest that we can tell you at this point of time is the death toll has climbed to 16 in these protests. Hundreds of people, they are injured, they are at the hospital. They are now facing a resource crunch. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali joins us to get us more on this. Ghazali, take us through the latest as far as the protests are concerned.
See, right now the death toll has increased to 16. 16 people have been killed in these protests, some of them through the gunshots. Many of them have died while being taken to the hospital. There is absolute chaos in Kathmandu and other adjoining areas because the curfew, which was earlier was just announced for Kathmandu, the time duration has been extended till 10 p.m. and then additional orders of curfew has been issued for other areas around the capital city and other adjoining areas. People have not yet left the street. In certain areas, army has been called out on the streets. Despite restraint, the army and the police forces are trying to disperse the mob, due to which these deaths have been reported from Nepal. The Prime Minister, just a short while ago, a couple of hours ago, was quoted saying that perhaps the youngsters should know that if they violate or if they go against the rule of the law, they will face consequences. The young protesters under the banner of Gen Z, or what they call themselves, they are still on the streets. What they are up against is massive corruption. They have their grievances at how large number of migration is happening in Nepal. They also are being supported by the diaspora of Nepal, which is based in different countries on social media. Their main grievances include that how people close to power are getting jobs and other perks, but ordinary Nepali citizens are not getting jobs. There is unemployment, and then there is massive corruption in the government system, which is they are up against, the protesters are up against that. Now, the Prime Minister, who was aware that perhaps on 8th of September, this young group called Gen Z will come out on the streets of the protest, but had not anticipated this kind of gathering, just 3 days before the protest had issued an order that most of the social media platforms will be banned in Nepal and will not be accessible. That perhaps aggravated the situation, and that is why we see thousands of these people are on the streets, despite it's been more than 4 hours since the people started gathering in Kathmandu and other areas. The situation is still tense. Journalists have also protested the ban of social media in Nepal. Right now, what we are picking up is the death toll has increased to 16 and many more people are injured and have been admitted in the hospital.
Are these protests largely student and youth driven, or have other section of the society also, joined in these protests right now?
See, as of now, it is led by the youth brigade, or say the young generation there, the young population of Nepal, but it always has the potential to get other people from different sectors and from different walks of life to join them, because the basic grievances or the basic issue for which they're protesting is something which impacts everybody in Nepal, be it unemployment, be it corruption, rising prices, and then you also have this Trump's tariff kicking in for every other country. So that is also one of the reasons why people are these young people are very agitated about that. Mr. KP Sharma, Mr. KP Oli's government did come to power promising that they will eradicate corruption, they'll bring a revolution, but that has not been achieved by this government, and that is why that kind of dissatisfaction among the young voters. What they basically are demanding is that there should be a representative who should be in the political system, who should represent the young generation. That is why they are upset about that, how there is favoritism, and that's why Nepo Kid is another account or something which is going viral on social media, on Nepal's social media pages, though social media is not accessible since the ban, but before that this was going viral. Then the diaspora community of Nepal, which is there in different countries, they are also mobilizing people and asking them to join the ongoing protest.
Ghazali, is there any sort of indication that the government is willing to negotiate with the students or the people who are leading these protests? Is there any sort of indication to that?
See, the government is right now, the first priority for the government is to control the situation, because at certain locations we have seen violence in the sense that the government's crackdown against the protester, tear gas shells being used, deaths being reported. So as of now, the first priority of the government is obviously to control the mob, to ask them to leave the streets, and then perhaps negotiations will obviously be followed after the situation becomes normal.
Right. Multiple people have lost their lives in these protests. Nepal, as far as we have been reporting, it is witnessing one of its biggest youth-led uprisings in the recent years, and the streets of Kathmandu and several other cities, they have been flooded with protesters after the government's sudden decision to ban 26 major social media platforms, including Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram and X. And what has begun as a peaceful demonstration earlier, it has now turned violent. 16 people have lost their lives. Police firing tear gas, water cannons and even rubber bullets. It has led to 16 deaths so far and dozens of injuries. Let me go back to Mohammad Ghazali. Ghazali, the big question at this point of time is the country, is Nepal on the brink of a digital age political upheaval? Can we say that?
Yes, we can say that, but it will be too premature to sort of predict the outcome of this agitation, because we had seen similar agitation starting off in Bangladesh, and that led to a complete kind of the prime minister being overthrown, and then she had to take political asylum, and situation is still not very stable in Bangladesh, one of the other neighbors of India. Here right now, we don't know that who is backing these protests, because there are certain politicians who are obviously backing the protests, but they don't want to come in front or lead it. So it may be a nameless, a group which has the name, but you don't have a definitive face. There are young students, young protesters who are part of the protest, those who gave the call for protest, but how far they can achieve it, it will also have to be seen whether this protest spreads to other areas of Nepal, not just Kathmandu, and whether people join them from all the corners of the country. Because what happened, if you just go by the history of what happened back in Bangladesh, that protest against the government had sparked a kind of widespread protest across the country. So on one particular day, on 5th of August, when Sheikh Hasina had to flee the country, people from across the country were marching towards Dhaka. Today, the protest call was indicative of the fact that protesters had asked people to gather near the residence of Prime Minister of Nepal, but before they they could gather near the residence of Prime Minister, many other areas or venues became the point where protesters had gathered, and then they had to face the crackdown from police forces. And that is why it will have to be assessed, because it is too early to predict that which way this protest will go, or whether there will be negotiations, because 16 deaths is a big number for the last 4 hours of this protest, and it could go any way. The government has called emergency meeting as well, so perhaps after the meeting we would know what kind of directions or orders government will give to the security forces, whether they are trying to identify the faces with whom negotiations can be carried out.
Absolutely. And is there a possibility that this crisis could destabilize the government or realign, trigger political realignments? We'll only have to wait and watch and see how things develop there. But listen in to what KP Sharma Oli, the Nepalese Prime Minister, has to say.
नेपालको कानुन मान्नुपर्ने, कुनै विदेशीले कारोबार गर्यो भने कानुन मान्नु नपर्ने, जेनजी पुस्तालाई पिर पर्यो अरे, राम्रो लागेन अरे, जेनजी पुस्ता भन्ने चाहिँ कुनै ठगी खाने भाडो हो।